Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. The Xiongnu was a nomadic tribe in northern China. After the unification of China by Emperor Qin Shi Huang, he ordered General Meng Tian to lead 300,000 Qin troops to attack the Xiongnu in the north, recapture the Heshi corridor, and station troops in Shangjuan. It is recorded that the Xiongnu retreated over 700 li, and the Hu people dared not come south to graze their horses. During the transition from the Qin to the Han dynasty, Xiongnu Prince Madan killed his father, two-man Xiongnu, and proclaimed himself as the new Xiongnu. After ascending to the throne, Madan unified the various Xiongnu tribes and gradually became more powerful. During the Chu-Han contention, Madan took advantage of the strength of his army and horses to retake the Heshi corridor and constantly harassed the Central Plains. The year 202 BC was a special day. With the end of the brief chaos at the end of the Qin dynasty, the hundreds of years of enmity, love, and killing between the various states since the spring and autumn period finally came to an end at this moment. However, what may have surprised those who previously boasted of their noble bloodline from the seven states was that not only were the previously powerful Qin and Chu states buried in the ruins of history, but most of the noble and prestigious from all states fell into the dust and mingled with the common people. Liu Bang, the leader of Peixian County's Cixi Pavilion, a small and unknown pavilion head before the chaotic times, became the ultimate winner in this chaotic period with his Peixian group. He fully embodied the idea that prime ministers must arise from the states, and great generals must emerge from the ranks through his actual actions. However, just as Liu Bang was reveling in the joy of defeating his biggest rival Xiongnu and enjoying everything as the victor, the threat from the Xiongnu in the north was quietly approaching. From 210 BC to 202 BC, when the Central Plains was still in the midst of turmoil with the disintegration of the Qin Empire and the struggle for supremacy among warlords, many grassland tribes in the north were also undergoing profound changes internally. Madan, the son of Xiongnu Qiongnu Two-Man, stood out among the successors of the Xiongnu with his tough character, strong willpower, and fierce temperament, and eventually killed his father and declared himself as the new Qiongnu. He even pacified the Yuezhi, Donghu, and recaptured the Heshi region previously occupied by General Meng Tian of the Qin dynasty. In the same year, Liu Bang had basically unified most of the Qin dynasty's former territories, except for Lingnan, where the old Qin general Zhao Tuo was still in power. At this time, the Xiongnu Qiongnu was also almost unified with the various tribes on the Mongolian grasslands. In the early Western Han dynasty, in response to his political promise to unite various lords to fight against Xiongnu, Liu Bang divided the empire into 7 separate feudal kingdoms for Yan, Chu, Zhao, Han, Liang, Huainan, and Changsha after unifying the country. However, like the first emperor before him, Liu Bang gradually became unable to tolerate the independent military and political power of these feudal kings who controlled half of the empire, and began to consciously suppress and eliminate them. For example, Han Wangxin, who originally resided in the heartland of the Central Plains, moved all the way from Yangdi to Mai, which was adjacent to the Xiongnu. Perhaps out of resentment for Liu Bang's betrayal and fear of his potential actions, Han Wangxin, at the time, abandoned the traditional idea of the distinction between the civilized and the barbarian after witnessing the powerful military might of the Xiongnu, surrendered to them, and led them southward. At that time, Liu Bang was full of confidence after eliminating the Xiong clan group, and his army was composed of numerous valiant generals and strategists. In addition, in the 2 previous conflicts between the Central Plains regime and the Xiongnu tribe recorded in history, the Zhao general Li Mu and the Qin general Meng Tian had both won decisive victories. Accompanied by Chen Ping, Lu Jing, Fan Kuai, Xia Haing, Zhou Bo, and others, Liu Bang led an army of 320,000 soldiers on a march of conquest. As expected, at the beginning, the situation was just as everyone had predicted. The 320,000 elite Han army, which had just experienced the War of Unification, broke through Han Wangxin's garrison in Shaanxi like a hot knife through butter, and then pursued and defeated the Xiongnu and Han Wangxin's coalition army in Guangwu. The Xiongnu also assembled their forces in the northwest of Lufan but were defeated by the Han cavalry. As a result, the Han army became complacent and Liu Bang, likewise, solidified the stereotypical impression that the Xiongnu were weak from the descriptions of the envoys who had returned from dozens of meetings, seriously underestimating the strength of the Xiongnu after unifying. Despite the fierce opposition from his ministers, such as Lu Jing, who argued that, when two countries fight, one should praise and highlight their strengths. But today, going there, we only see the weak, old and frail, which is a desire to show off our own strengths and provoke the enemy to fight. I think the Xiongnu cannot be defeated. Liu Bang personally led the vanguard of the light cavalry to reach the forefront of the army at Pingcheng. Modern was naturally overjoyed when he heard the news. Taking advantage of the opportunity while most of the Han army had not arrived, he set up an ambush and commanded 400,000 Xiongnu troops to surround Liu Bang's army at Baideng Mountain. Liu Bang organized several attempts to break out but was unsuccessful. Fortunately, in addition to the so-called Emperor Gaozu using Chen Ping's plan to send thick gifts to Yuji recorded in the records of the Grand Historian, Liu Bang was also accompanied by a group of elite palace guards and fierce generals. Baideng Mountain was a high terrain where the Xiongnu's proud cavalry and archery skills could not be fully utilized, while the Han army, which was skilled at defending cities, demonstrated their full abilities. Despite Modu's four-way siege and strong attacks on Baideng Mountain, the Han army held their ground and repelled them repeatedly. The battle lasted for a full 7 days and nights, with both sides suffering heavy losses. What was most critical was that the Han army, who had learned that the emperor was trapped, was hurrying day and night under the urging of loyal generals to Liu Bang in the rear. If they could not take Baideng Mountain by the time they arrived, it would become a bloody meat grinder for hundreds of thousands of troops to fight to the death. Who would win? Modern did not know, and neither did Liu Bang. However, Modern, who still had the advantage, should have been able to recognize clearly that the 400,000 troops in his hands were the foundation of his existence. Otherwise, if he could kill his father, others could kill him as well. Moreover, even if he won, what then? At that time, the strength of the Xiongnu tribes was greatly weakened, and they no longer had the ability to suppress the many restless grassland tribes. Modern couldn't afford to gamble, nor did he dare to gamble. So, under the persuasion of his so-called advisors, this master of the unified grasslands opened up a gap in the siege and allowed Liu Bang and others, who were fully armed and vigilant, to leave. Afterwards, Liu Bang intended to use his own daughter and to establish peace. He offered countless gold, silver, and jewels and sent a royal princess as a wife to the Xiongnu. This bought a period of peace with the northern Xiongnu tribes. In the following nearly 50 years of historical development, the Han Empire humiliatedly accepted various unequal terms imposed by the Xiongnu people on itself in exchange for peace. Those who wanted to rise up and rebel were often blocked with the excuse of Emperor Gaozu was wise and martial, yet he was still trapped in Pingcheng. It was not until the period of Emperor Wu of Han that the entire situation underwent a fundamental change. This is History and Culture channel. Like and subscribe are the biggest help and support for us. Thank you everyone. See you next time.